council on. And I would like for our audience to know our councilwoman just lost her mother, and it's condolences from Cascade Media and What's Up Kansas City. Who do we have here today?
Well, Carlos, thank you for having me on. Andrea Bough. I'm the 6th District at-large City Council person representing South Kansas City.
Tell our audience your boundaries.
The boundaries run, it starts at 59th Street, running from State Line, generally from Holmes, Troost, south. And then once it gets to 435, it extends east. So it's generally, it looks kind of, I think, like an H running south until it gets to 435. So all the way to the Cass County and the city limits on the south side of Kansas City. All
right. I'd like to say in quick step, tell our audience about yourself. And when I say tell our audience about yourself, let's go to kindergarten, then talk about some of the people that really influenced you, Andrea. So our people really know who you are, what schools you went to, sure. And give credit to mentors that help shape how you look at the world.
Sure. And thank you for your condolences. And I just had an opportunity this past week to travel to Southeast Missouri, where I grew up, and had an opportunity to in essence, walk down memory lane and remember some of my childhood memories. I was born and raised in Southeast Missouri, in a small town called East Prairie, which is a very rural agricultural community. I went to college at what is now Southwest Missouri State, or no, sorry, it's now Missouri State. It was Southwest Missouri State when I was there in Springfield, Missouri. And, you know, I had a lot of great teachers in Southeast Missouri. I was joking, I was going through some of my report cards, and in 2nd grade, I sent a picture to my family that apparently in 2nd grade, I lagged behind, and my 2nd grade teacher noted that it was due to carelessness. And we had a laugh, a good laugh, my family, because 3rd grade, I had picked that up and was doing much better. But, you know, I think a lot of my background is due and upbringing is due to my family, a small town background. But then when I went to school at what's now Missouri State, I majored in political science, minored in history, and I worked for a criminal defense attorney in college.
For a minute. Let me cut you off for a minute because I'm curious about this. Coming from, did y'all farm? See, coming from a farming community and farming, 2 different things.
That is absolutely 2 different things. And we did not farm, but my mom worked for 34 years for the Department of Agriculture. Oh. So we did not farm, but I had many
your classmates. Because see, me coming from New York, in the summertime, they used to make me go down south to my grandmother's to farm. And see, a lot of people might not have that experience and understand that we have the same experiences in different cultures, but because we live in Kansas City, a lot of us know what the rural counties are, and right. It's almost like one damn big family where you came from.
It is. It very much is.
This program is brought to you by Dye Electric LLC, Energy in Motion.
It is. And so I went to school at Missouri State, met my husband. We got married young, and moved to Kansas City, where he started law school. I followed soon thereafter. I graduated from the University of Missouri Kansas City Law School, practiced on and off for the last 20 years.
What kind of practice?
real estate law. And, I've been involved for almost since we moved to Kansas City in politics. We have been active on campaigns and have hosted fundraisers.
What made you actually get into it? That's what I'm saying. What, coming from farming, then law, real estate, and there should have been some cake in that. But to fool around with politics.
My aunt, if you talk about mentors, my Aunt Marthy was very involved. She was much different than my mom, who just recently passed. She converted to Catholicism. She was very flamboyant. My mom was very reserved. She wore bright red lipstick.
That's I want to meet her.
She unfortunately she passed away about 22 years ago. She was my dad's older sister, and she was involved in JFK's campaign. She was very involved in politics, and I think her activism sparked an interest even when I was very young in junior high, that kind of lay dormant for a while. But she was always advocating for, whether it was someone who, she worked on the health board. She was advocating for those who not necessarily
didn't have a voice.
Who didn't have a voice. And so, I would hear her talk about, what she was doing, and at the time, I was, she may be sitting at the dining room table talking to my dad and my grandmother. And it was like I was overhearing it. It wasn't too much of an interest, but it was there in the back of my mind, and it was sinking in. And as a child, you pick up on things, and you put it somewhere in the back of your mind. And as you grow up and become an adult, those memories kind of come to the forefront, and then it instills in you ideals that is who you become. And that's who I became. And it's from my early childhood. My dad worked at the Division of Family Services. And, when before I was born, my mom and dad waited several years before they had their own children. They had foster children. I mean, it was just little things throughout my childhood that said, whatever you do, you're going to be helping people. And, my law practice is real estate. It pays the bills, but it allowed me to be in a position where at one point I said, you know what, I'm going to get off of the sidelines and into the game.
That's what Maxine Waters says. Don't congratulate me. Get in the damn fight. Right.
And so in some ways, why city council is because of my law practice. I know I represented clients at city council, so I knew how that process worked in some areas. And, the city impacts people's lives on a day-to-day basis. And I
want to cut you off again. Do you think that your constituents, I might be phrasing this wrong, that the people really understand how much what y'all do and your legislation and your bills affect their daily life? Do you think that we're conscious of that for real? We know, but not because we're not acting like we know.
I think some people do, and some people probably don't as much. I mean, I think I think the last few months, based upon the emails that we've been getting, people have a better understanding of how city government can impact it. Although right now, I think we are getting a better understanding of how the interplay between city, state, and federal government can impact people's lives, because our actions or inactions are having a huge impact.
And they're paying
on people.
attention now.
They are very much paying attention, and that's good.
Oh, yeah.
Because I mean, there's a lot of things that happen at City Hall or in Jeff City or in Washington, D.C. that impact people's lives, and people do not pay attention. And that's really scary, because we need to be paying attention. And, you know, I kind of joke because sometimes I tend to, you know, whether it's the newspaper calling or you, Carlos, talking to me, I sometimes talk a lot, and then I'll get quoted and I'm like, what, did I really say that? But the media plays such a great role in our society to ask questions, to do investigative reporting, to make sure that we as elected officials are held accountable for the things that we do. Some of the things that have been reported recently in the newspaper, I didn't even know that was going on. And
hold it, I'm not a Trumper. Let's get that straight, audience.
No. Trump, I'm not either.
No,
Let's get that straight.
No, let me say this.
Yeah.
That Trump, they want to say, and I think some of it is true, he invented all this fake news. It's been going on all the time.
Oh, yeah.
He has brought it to the surface. And I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong, but that's one of the things I'm glad we talked about, because I want to segue into the city manager, that they will, the major media, they will put things out of context, and then you'll be like what you just said. Did I say that? If I said that, that's not the context that I said it in. And so people on my case, why do you be pestering them to come on? So that don't happen, because whatever you're saying on my network per se, people know we credible, or we'll just stop the damn interview if things are not going the way they're supposed to. And tell our audience what the deal is with the new city manager. And don't spend a lot of time on that, because they done heard 2 or 3 other council people who all got different reasons. Then I want you to talk about what you see is important for the next 6 months to a year for your people.
So, you know, there was the process of selecting the new city manager took a long time, because, you know, I think it was delayed because of, you know, some of related to COVID. You know, we didn't, just the process was probably not what we all wanted. The first, and even the first vote that was taken, you know, there with some information got out that, you know, who the person was. Honestly, you know, complete transparency, going into the final interviews, this was not my top choice. I had someone else. I had discussions with the mayor, you know, saying, you know, here's my 2 that I am interested in, giving my pros and cons. Our current city manager was presented, and I, based upon, you know, his interview and some of that was much more impressive than I, you know, my initial impressions of him on paper. And the things that we are facing as a city and the stagnation of some of our departments, I think he brought a breath of fresh air in some of his answers. So I was able in our first vote to support him based upon him being presented in a resolution, because we were given with one name. And I was under the impression that my first choice did not have the votes to support him. So obviously we came around to the contract, and there were some other allegations that came up. I did vote to delay 1 week so we could have some additional conversations. That vote failed.
That needs to be, audience, did you hear her? She said she voted to delay. That's to my Black audience.
Okay, thank you. And, I had some conversations with my colleagues. I sat right next to Raina Parkshaw, Councilwoman Parkshaw, and who we collaborate with often. And I respect her. I respect Councilwoman Robinson. I sat on neighborhood planning and development with Councilman Barnes. Councilman Ellington and I have, a great relationship. He and I, well, that's a whole different story.
That's the whole purpose of my show, is showing my community, not my politician friends, my grassroots. And I'll go to this. Cascade Media Group represents the bottom 3/4 of the Black community. And they need to understand that they know I talk white and Black, that our white brethren, you cannot put words in their mouth. They telling you why they do things. And from a business point of view, when I was in business and I didn't get contracts, sometimes I thought it was racist. It was just business.
Right. And so it was a struggle for me. And I made in the moment, I made the decision on the contract to follow through with the first decision I made. And what I think is important, now is we need, as a council, to ensure that we are vigilant and overseeing not only the city manager, but all of our staff, to ensure that that all people are treated with respect and that there is equity in everything that we do. And one thing that I am very proud of, Councilwoman Parkshaw introduced a resolution that I think should be heard tomorrow in finance, is to establish a chief equity officer.
Right.
And I asked her, I said, can I co-sponsor this with you? I don't want to take any of the credit away from what she and Councilwoman Robinson have done. I said, I want to support you on this because I think this is a very important thing that we as a city are doing, because equity should not be an afterthought. It should be at the forefront. And so we need someone at the city that says, across every department, this is something that we are looking at in all of our policies, all of our programs, and comes, from the top. And so that is what I want to see as we move forward. I mean, we have made a decision as a council to hire the new city manager. From what I've seen, with the snow, he's the snow decisions and coming up with some policies. That is not, that's a race neutral to some extent, although we need to make sure that in our communities that are,
it's equitable. The main thing now I see from all of y'all, everybody's willing to acknowledge to a degree that everything has been on automatic, and some people have been a little dereliction of duty, sleep at the switch. And at the end of the day, sleep at the switch equates into lost dollars, inefficiency, and all of that. And this equity deal that the councilwoman, I would think that the rest of the council would jump on board. And what you're talking about as it relates to co-sponsoring and what have you, I'm hoping that she says yes. Me personally, I'm going to be calling Councilwoman Shaw, because this is what me personally and my company would like to see, where our council people are working in concert on quite a few things. We know that there are going to be divisions, but let's not demonize one another because we don't agree.
Oh,
And
yeah. And she's already said I could co-sponsor. So.
excellent, excellent. And I'm
Yeah.
saying we need more of that type of across the board with our brethren. And so
Right.
now let's keep it moving to what you'd like to see happen
Right.
next 6 months. I'm gonna bring up. So Dan was saying the most important thing he thought was this earnings tax because we ain't gonna be able to do nothing if we don't get that
Right.
money, and it cannot be reinstated if we lose it. So I don't know what your concerns are, but I threw that out to you.
Well, that is very important because that's a significant portion of our budget. And without a budget to do the things and the programs that we have, that's just going to be devastating to the city and the city's programs. I think the immediate is, we still have a pandemic to control. We have, vaccines that are coming in to distribute more widely to the population. We have, those in our community that are facing, that continue to face and will face economic hardships that are brought on by the pandemic or that we're facing
Andrea,
economic hardship.
Do you know anything about these deaths on the street? And I was wondering how they trying to connect homeless people, because I was homeless 10 years, to you or the mayor, and like y'all can control every minute thing that happens in the community.
Yeah, I have heard a little bit, and I've tried to find out more. I was on a call yesterday to get some information. We're going to have an update at Business Council with the Kansas City Coalition for Homelessness. The information that I have is, and we're still trying to find out whether there was homeless sweeps by any department in the city, and that is still trying to be confirmed. I did introduce 2 resolutions during this pandemic to try to address, some homeless issues. There's things that we can do, and there are things that, are to some extent out of our control. We have to do everything in our power to ensure that anyone in our city is safe.
And
they
put a roof over their head.
Yeah, I mean, and we certainly can't do anything to harm them. And I think that was what a lot of the mayor and the city manager and certain organizations were discussing yesterday, is to ensure that no actions of our city departments were going out and endangering the lives of Kansas Cityans, because that's just not acceptable.
Stealing blankets and all this stuff.
Right.
I can't. I'm not going to say it didn't happen, but I'm like, I can't believe all of that. It must be some type of grudge or something being dug. I don't know, but y'all cannot be responsible if, there's some trash on the street, they're not doing their job. No.
Right.
And that's why I like to have these conversations, straighten it out.
Right. And we will definitely have more information at business session. And I know the mayor's office and the city manager was working on that yesterday to ensure that we have all the information to ensure that, that's,
it's high priority.
It is a high priority.
Let's keep it moving. How you think that airport is going?
Well, from what I hear, that it's on time and on budget.
All right. Do you think again, I don't, because I'm Black, I'm always looking what the hell they doing with the Black people. Do you think that they got that squared away on those percentages or anything? And then I don't know whether that's in your bailiwick. I know as a council person, but what do you know about all that?
I know that our Transportation Infrastructure and Operations Committee is looking at that very closely and keeping an eye on that. And I too, as a council member, am doing that. And we just had there was a recent controversy, and I know a lot of us wanted to ensure that, this is a transformative project for the city, and we want to ensure that, you know, our minority contractors are getting their fair share. And
So that we can get some real trickle down, maybe, even if they get money, doesn't guarantee no trickle down, but at least y'all are trying to write some things.
Right. And I know my colleagues on that committee, not only on that project, but on all projects, are asking the questions that need to be answered on the city projects to ensure that our minority and
getting what we got coming. I'm off you on that. I'm going in on you on something else. How you like the zoo and what's going on? And I think that we've got a hell of an administrator running that whole Parks and Rec. I've been knowing her for a minute, and I tell you this, I thought they had the little mafia going over there at Parks and Rec for years, and she came in. I bitched about my sports network and stuff, and she put them people on the carpet. She said, "Go meet with Mr. Nelson, not because he's black or nothing, because he has the largest digital sports site, high school, and why aren't we involved?" Mm-hmm. And we do recreation, and we have all these centers. And then I just seen all the changes that she's made, and you know that comes under y'all. How do you feel about what our Parks and Rec is doing right now?
No, I think Terry's doing a great job, and all my interactions with her, she's doing great.
Any other departments you want to talk about or lend some praise to, Councilwoman?
You know, I will mention the planning department updating the comprehensive plan. And I tell you why this is important is, you know, we are going through a process that talks about how we see the vision of Kansas City in the next 20, 25 years. And there's a KC Spirit playbook, and you can go online and answer questions about how we build out Kansas City for the next 20, 25 years. And there's a lot of interactive tools on this website.
What is it? I'm gonna go to it because Cascade Media Group right now, I've been talking to I'm not even gonna call them political leaders, a lot of politicals in the Black community, to have a think tank for we're going to sponsor for 2 years, 6-month objective, a year objective, and see how we can come together to do that. Now, I would be interested in looking at that website because I want management to come from ideas to come from the bottom up instead of from the top down on what our people need and how they need it. And what you're saying, that's an interactive site. Once we get it out there on What's Up Kansas City, we can actually have our community, not no leadership. So I'd like to work with you if you can help me.
Yes. It's playbook.kcmo.gov.
Playbook.
One word, playbook.kcmo.gov.
.gov. All right.
Yes.
Got it. So is there any...
And
go ahead.
I think it's very important that we have, you know, a wide variety of geographic areas filling out and interacting on this website. Because one thing that I would like to see is, you know, information on, you know, housing, you know, just in retail, commercial development. And so I think it's just very important that we get as much response as we can. And it's a very interesting tool that you can get a lot of information.
I'm gonna be on top of it.
Absolutely.
Before we close out, what do you I'm gonna let you have some more say, but what do you think about that 18th and Vine situation when I say situation, they freaking, boy, I want to cuss so bad. They've been freaking around on Vine Street for a quarter century, and you really don't have nothing down there. And I want you to comment on what kind of job you think Bob Kendricks is doing with that Negro League.
Well, okay, so first, I have heard, and we had in our neighborhood planning and development recently, some development proposals, which I am very excited about, and I'm hoping that we can finally see development on 18th and Vine that will bring it back to its glory. And I really hope that now is the time that we will see that happen. Because honestly, we've seen development in other parts of Kansas City, and it's time for 18th and Vine.
Bob Kendricks.
The Negro Leagues Museum, I mean, I think it's great. I mean, the fact that, and that's why I think that we need to build up 18th and Vine, because we have such a gem in the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum. I think my husband is even a member or something of it. Yeah.
He's put us, the Negro League has always been on the map, but I didn't know they had other things like that in other cities. But he has taken us to a new level nationally.
Absolutely.
With the National Baseball League. They got
absolutely
the coin being.
Absolutely.
That's
and
leadership.
Now they're recognized as an actual, not just the Negro Leagues, but an actual major league team.
And changing that whole Hall of Fame, the narrative, and people.
Right.
This is my observation. When the councilwoman was saying about this new city manager, that thinking in a different way. I'm Black Power Ungawa. I'm concerned about those allegations, but let's give this man a chance, because we do have a city manager form of government, and he has got the power, and we need to get along to a degree.
Right. Exactly. And what's the phrase? Trust but verify.
My boy Reagan. Hey, Ronnie ride in and be like, hey, cut the crap. I hear you. I see your lips moving, but let's look and see what you're doing.
Right. And that's, with any new employee, we want him to succeed. And I think we are supportive of him doing that. But we, and I've talked to my colleagues, and we're going to do that. We're going to give him the opportunity to succeed. He has, in the weeks that he's been on, he is, I think, he's performing, but we will be there as with, any organization. We're going to watch and make sure that things happen.
In closing, what do you want to impart to the world, my dear?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk with you. And I think a lot of times it's important that, we're hoping for a better tomorrow. We've had a rough year, and it's important that we as a council build trust, because I think that's
key to life. When I'm mentoring my kids, I have a lot of college interns and different things. I try to tell them, don't lie to me, because it's so hard to rebuild trust. Just say the truth, get smacked or whatever the hell's going to happen, but people will respect you much more. I didn't have money, Andrea, to build my company, but I had my word. And that goes a long way if you really got a word. Right. And that's why, go ahead.
Right. And I think it's, it's about listening. And so I work, like I said, I work closely with my colleague, Raina Park-Shaw. We sat together. I will continue to work with her and listen to her, because we can learn from each other. And that's what I plan to do in the upcoming year.
Well, I'm stealing one of my partners, one of the other interviewers, Jim Watts. I'm stealing his closing. He's always like, it's a plum pleasing pleasure to have you on the show tonight.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. And so my closing, and Watts, you better not steal my closing. When you invest in your community, you're really just investing in yourself. Good night.
This program is brought to you by Dye Electric LLC, Energy in Motion.